Angry Aussie.
G'day viewers, how are you today? It's Friday! We've made it to the end of another week. Time for some totally fucked up Friday stories. And honestly, for me, a stand-up for things that fucked up that happened in the last week or so, the false missile warning that everyone in Hawaii received. I mean, that was full on. It's like, in terms of fucked up, I think that's about the most fucked up things could get without someone actually being hurt or dying. I mean, normally you can get tragedies, injury, death, whatever. But this one, okay, technically, no one hurt, but it's hard to imagine something more fucked up happening that turns out to be nothing. I mean, for more than half an hour, to think you were going to die in a nuclear explosion. And of course, it's made all the more plausible by the pumpkin pushing brinksmanship with a really unstable nuclear power in North Korea. It was like, that was it. It was like, you must usually, if you're in Hawaii and you get this thing saying, not a drill, missile incoming, it's like, well, the fucker did it. We're all gonna fucking die, and it's his fault. Fuck this shit. And, you know, there's been all these stories about, you know, pandemonium, people panicking, people think, oh my God, I don't have enough time to get back to my family. I'll never see my family again. I can't help thinking a few people might have done things. I haven't seen reports of this, but it's like, well, if I'm gonna die, I'm walking into my boss's office, dropping true, and I'm gonna do a big shit on his desk and say, I've always fucking hated you. Or there are other people saying like, well, dude, I've never actually thought I was that curious about gay sex, but we're gonna die and it's just the two of us here. Maybe we should just try it before we go. I mean, literally go out with a bang and say, I think there would have been nothing like someone who's gone like, I don't know, sculling a bottle of vodka, or, you know, I was thinking someone taken really dangerous drugs that they'd always been scared to take, but there would have been a time factor on that one, unless you just had them on hand and went like, wow, there was that killer LSD that made everyone go crazy at the Christmas party that I didn't want to touch, and there's still a dose of it. But, you know, if you had a handy drug dealer, just go, no, I've always been scared to try crack. And look, there's a crack dealer down there on the corner. I'm going to do it. I'm going to die. I might as well die high on crack and not caring. So I don't know if there's been a lot of divorces suddenly in Hawaii, if there's a bunch of new drug addicts. But seriously, the psychological trauma, and this is the weirdest thing about it to me, is that I feel like the psychological trauma for a lot of people would have been really real. But then at the end of it all, nothing happened. There was no thing. You're traumatized by a non-thing. That, to me, just makes the whole thing super surreal. I really feel for the people of Hawaii. I'm glad I didn't go through it. Thank you for having it. And again, as I said, this is all the pumpkin's fault. And he was on a fucking golf course. It's like, for 30 minutes, more than 30 minutes, people thought they were going to die. But apparently within 3 or 4 minutes, the people responsible for sending it out knew it had gone out wrongly, but it took another half hour to tell everyone how bad. And what did Trump do? You know, you would think that if a missile warning went out to everyone in Hawaii, a message would have got straight to the president saying, there's been a missile warning in Hawaii, and the president might do something, and Trump did nothing. And it's just like, it really sums him up. He's nothing. I mean, I had a really interesting conversation with a Twitter friend, because speaking of Trump, the porn star story came out. Like, oh, did Donald Trump pay off a porn star to not tell everyone that they had an affair? Apparently, yes. And this person's saying, like, I don't fucking care. That shit is meaningless. And these stupid diversions seem to come up every goddamn day. And they mean nothing. And I thought about it. I agree. Like, I like to make fun of, you know, the latest fuck up by Trump or one of his entourage. But that shit really is meaningless. What I want him to get busted for the outright criminal behaviour. The collusion with a hostile foreign power for personal gain against the broader interests of America. Like, that's the real shit. But I think one of the reasons people latch on to Trump said a racist thing, Trump had affairs, Trump's a sexist, Trump openly boasted about multiple sexual assaults, is because any one of those things historically would have ended someone's presidential run. And Trump has fucking dozens of them. And it's because he just went on like a steamroller. I don't care. He would periodically go on and lie and said, I never said that. Like, he would do something on camera, like making fun of the disabled reporter, and then after the fact, when it blows up in his face, he just goes, I didn't do that. That's who was fucking there on video. Oh, I don't sexually assault women. You boasted about grabbing them by the pussy. It's like, what the fuck is happening? I mean, if I was feeling positive and looking for some top spin, I think, well, maybe the fact that Trump just steamrolled through all this shit and wasn't touched by it, maybe people better than him in the future won't have their transgressions. I mean, can you imagine, like, politicians who've been derailed by stuff way less than what Trump's done, and they're way better people. And I mean people of all political persuasions. But, you know, I don't think that will happen. I don't think good but flawed people will benefit from this. I think Trump's just lowered the bar so far, people are just going to get worse. Politicians, particularly high-profile politicians, are just going to get worse and worse and worse and be less and less answerable for their actions, and we're all going to suffer as a result. It's like, well, humanity, you had a good run. I think maybe we give the cockroaches a chance next, because they seem to have more integrity, so bye-bye humans. The next missile warning's not going to be a false alarm, and you all deserve it. We all deserve it. But man, it's the one thing, it is true. The shit with Trump, like, Trump had sex with a porn star, then paid her off to not talk. And then someone's running the story. Porn star says Trump's bad in bed. Okay, just for a moment here, that is less surprising than Trump is a racist, quite honest. You look at Trump going, really? You're telling me Trump's not a generous and involved lover? That is a surprise to me. That I did not see that as a failing that he would have. That is a considerable surprise. Again, and look, it's fun to bait him because he actually does seem to be really affected by it, but fuck, it's clutching at straws at this point. And like, he had his fake medical this week. No, he's in great shape. He's definitely, you know, he's not gonna die. He's clearly unfit. He's clearly not well. He's an old, seriously overweight man in the most stressful job in the world. It's a better than even chance he's going to drop dead without warning. It's like, why? This is the weirdest thing, that there's not a proper medical examination. Someone just, and any medical report we've had on Trump has just been so superlative. No, he's great. No, just say something halfway plausible. Well, no, he's kind of fucked, but he's over 70, so what do you expect? I mean, you know, he's still going. That's all that counts. He's still going. Don't say he's in great shape. Don't say there's no problems. He's obviously not in great shape. There are obviously problems. Just go, well, you know, fuck it. He's still breathing, so he's there. And, you know, just not something that's so dumb. I do actually get annoyed at the intelligence insulting. But fuck, enough about Trump. Let's talk about dickheads in Australia. Now, we are approaching Australia Day in Australia. Surprisingly enough, that's where Australia Day happens. January 26th. It's been a national holiday since the 90s. That date is to commemorate the landing of the First Fleet. And it's kind of sort of the date that they landed, but also not really. But anyway, arbitrary date to celebrate the arrival of the First Fleet. Now, you may not be surprised when the First Fleet was, you know, the foreign occupiers coming in, that the actual original inhabitants of the island, not that keen about that being celebrated. As far back as the 1950s, activists had a day of mourning when people say, hey, let's have a day of celebration to mark when the Whiteys got here. And the Indigenous Australians going, not such a great deal for us. And this is the thing. Look, I don't give a shit about national days. Pretty much every country has a national day where, you know, you talk about your identity. There might be some countries that don't. I don't know. Maybe someone smarter than me can point out in the comments, hey, this country does not have a jingoistic national day. But, you know, I think pretty much every country does. And the thing is, there is a low key to be worlds. Nothing's much changing at the moment, but there's people who say, look, the date should change because it's fucking rubbing Indigenous Australians' nose in. It's like, ha ha ha, this is the date we started fucking you over. And almost any date could be construed as that. But to really go, oh look, here's when the boats came in and said, it's all fucked. You've been happy here for tens of thousands of years. That shit ends today. And as a great man say, look, move it. Hey, make it March 8th and we'll do it on your nan's grave. As long as Australia Day is deliberately put to coincide with the landing of the First Fleet, you know, so you'll have people calling it Invasion Day or Sorry Day. It's just, it is saying to Indigenous Australians, fuck you. And yes, someone's probably going to play, hey, look, here's an Indigenous person saying this is not a big deal. Yes, but here's hundreds to that one saying it is a big deal, okay? And the thing is, you want to have a celebration day, why insist on tying it to something that is so negative to so many people? It's insulting and it's stupid. It's just, there is no getting around that anyone and all the politicians just about of all stripes are like, I don't think we need to move the date. Is you go and say, oh, okay, sorry, Indigenous Australians, you're actually not important enough to care about. I'd lose too many votes to racists if I showed you basic respect. So, fuck you. And that's what it comes down to. It's by saying, well, I honestly don't care about how deliberately insulting this is to the first Australians. It's just like, just fucking move the date. And people get so toey about it. There's a national youth radio station here in Australia called Triple J. It's part of the ABC, our national broadcaster. And since the 90s, they've run an annual poll on what were the most popular songs of the previous year. And it's called The Hottest 100. And for a while now, that's been on Australia Day. They do a countdown. They play all 100 songs that got into the Hottest 100. And it's like party day. Everyone have a barbecue. And people have been saying more and more like, yeah, this is like an active endorsement of Australia Day, which not everyone's on board with. So maybe rethink it. And the talk went on for a couple of years. And last year, the channel actually did a survey of their listeners. And a significant majority of the listeners said, yeah, actually arbitrarily having it on Australia Day, it's hard to get away from that being an endorsement of Australia Day and a fuck you to Indigenous Australians. So yeah, maybe move it. And so this year, it has been moved. Rather than being on a set date, they've said from now on, it'll be the 4th Saturday in January, where we do the countdown. And this is the first year of that. And it's like a small gesture. It's like, okay, that date's contentious, so we're just going to move it to something that's not contentious. It's that fucking simple. It's like, oh, that date is deliberately insulting and demeaning to a group of people. Why not use a date that isn't so insulting and demeaning? Wow, fucking rocket science, right? And predictably, a bunch of conservatives go, oh, this is terrible. You can't do that. Fuckheads in the government saying, oh, we should have some sort of inquiry about this. It's like, the same people who are going about, oh, free speech, I've got to be able to tell the gays that they're garbage, I've got to be able to be a discriminatory prick, because that's free speech. But someone making a completely non-threatening decision like that, oh, that's the end of the world right there. And it's manifested itself in weird ways. A rival commercial radio network known as Triple M, famed for being almost universally staffed by middle-aged and older white guys, said, oh, we're going to have an Aussist 100 on Australia Day because Triple J sold everyone out. We're just going to play the best Oz tunes on Australia Day. Now, here's the thing. That is a deliberate, calculated, and fucking racist move. That is saying, oh, you did something because of the sensibilities of people who think that's a bad date to celebrate. So I'm going to deliberately get up in the face of those people and say, fuck you, I don't care about you. I'm doubling down and saying you are a piece of shit and I don't fucking care. And anyone who says otherwise is a lying fucking coward. And I've said it many times. One thing I really don't like is bigots, but what I can't stand is cowardly, lying, hypocritical bigots who won't even own what they are so fucking obviously doing. Now, a number of the station staff spoke out and said, this is fucking bullshit. Why are you doing this? I don't want to be associated with. I don't even know if they're still doing it. It's a network I pay no attention to. So for all I knew, they ditched it. But then this week, and I love this, because there are a few bigger losers and liars and cowards and hypocrites in Australia than Cory Bernardi. Was elected to the Senate as a member of the Liberal Party, the dominant Conservative Party in Australia, and he defected. Because you can do this, as the way the Australian system works. You can get elected as part of a party, and you would have had no chance of getting elected without that party. But after you're elected, you can go, I'm not in that party anymore, but I'm keeping the seat I was elected to. And he's formed a party he calls the Australian Conservatives. And they're not conservatives, they're fuckwits. They're ultra-right, Christian ideologue fuckwits, okay? I don't have a problem with conservatives by definition. I tend to disagree on a lot of key issues, economic and social, with conservatives. But see, people are different and have different goals. But Cory Bernardi is a liar, a coward, and a hypocrite. And he just this week came out and said, oh, I'm going to have an Australia Day top 100, top Australian tunes, and it's going to be a Spotify playlist, and everyone should vote for it, because I'm making a statement, because no one's paying attention to me, so if I do something really fucking obnoxious and racist, everyone will pay attention to me. And people have paid attention in as much as he's been made to look like a complete fucking prat. Because he published what he wanted on the playlist, and a whole cavalcade of the Australian artists he put on there stood up and went, no, fuck you, man. Do not fucking associate my music with your bullshit bigotry, because that shit is not on. And it's not, weirdly, he put political acts on there. Acts he's going, oh, this Goanna, solid rock, that's good solid rocks. It's about Indigenous rights. And it's like, Bernardi is so fucking stupid. He put a bunch of bands in there who are renowned for being all lefties, who are never going to go along with a fuckhead like him. But I particularly loved one of the first people to get really vocal was Darren Hayes from Savage Garden. Whoa, 90s flashback. Remember Savage Garden? He stood up and went, nah, fuck you, man. Do not associate my music with your bullshit. Take my name off that spot list, or I will have the fucking lawyers after you. And Bernardi's going, oh, what happened to free speech? Music should be for everyone. It's like, no, fuckhead. By implication, when you put this on and say, hey, look, I'm doing some racist shit, and this is my thing, there's an implication that these people are on board with you. You are smearing them with your disgusting fucking bigotry. And Spotify actually shut the playlist down and went, no, that's offensive. And Cory goes, oh, what happened to free speech? This is the person who literally argued, because he's anti-gay, that any business should be able to refuse service to people for any reason. Just to get around, because he could pretend, it's not that I hate gay people. He does. He hates gay people. Someone should be able to refuse to bake a gay wedding cake. And in fact, any business should be able to refuse any person for any reason, because that's how you form a cohesive society, right? The people on that side of the argument, like this fuckhead in the government, Kevin Andrews, said, oh yeah, no, a Muslim baker should be able to refuse to serve a Jewish person. Jewish person should be able to refuse to bake something for a Christian. Like, wow, that's gonna make for a cohesive, happy society, isn't it? You ignorant fucking bigots. Because they can't just bring themselves to be honest. It's like they think no one knows. If they don't say, oh, I hate gays, they're really icky, I don't want them to have any rights. They think if they don't say that, people don't see that it's their motivation. So, spoiler alert, guys, we see you, you're really fucking obvious. And so, on the one hand, when Bernardi wants to be a hateful, bigoted lump of shit, he says any business should be able to refuse service to anyone they don't like, but when music artists say, no, do not associate my music with your hateful bigotry, he goes, that's not fair. Because if there's one thing that's more fucked than an idiot bigot, it's a gutless, lying, cowardly, hypocritical bigot.